welcome back.
Hello.
Episode 6, Road to Cyclocross Nationals. This episode is titled, I Belong. We'll tell you the story in a few minutes. But this has taken us to race number 9 of the North Carolina Cyclocross Series in beautiful Hickory, North Carolina at the Crawdads Baseball Stadium. And this was the type of course that the Nino and O'Connell family need for good results. It has some technical sections, some steep uphills, and some fast road sections, and you add all those together and it truly is a good recipe for the entire family. But who cares about anybody but the man, Nino? You see him practicing his starts, putting his time in on the trainer during the week, dedicating everything that he has to make sure that when he lines up, he can give it his best shot, and the best shot he did give. So stay tuned for this incredible race. You do not want to miss it. We made a shorter version. If you don't have much time, check out the highlight version of episode 6. But if you like watching amazing junior racing, a kid with an awesome personality, and a future so bright as the sun, then check this entire episode out. And as usual, check out the last little bit when Nino takes the camera, has a couple mishaps with the battery and Robert Marion running out of time and a few little things like that, but he captures some pretty cool stuff with his camera. And we're building this up every week as we make our way to the national championship in Fayetteville, Arkansas here in just a few more weeks. All right, in Hickory, it was a loaded junior field. You had the reigning national champion, Hutch Griffith, one of the top junior 12 and under cyclocross racers in the nation. From Asheville, North Carolina, it is Sam Edwards from Velocious Sport. River Sophia, a super talented mountain biker, and Jasper Brandon. That was your 5 that was in the 11-12 division alongside Nino. But the entire junior field was stacked. You can see the lineup at the start line. It was just tons of kids. It was a great turnout in Hickory. That being said, off the start line, Nino did everything perfect. He started off just the way he needed to start, in the right gear, using the right cadence. And though he's not quite as fast as some of the other kids, he kept himself in contention just enough to where he knew as the course changed, started going uphill where he's super strong at climbing, he could catch right back up. And like we always say, if you give Nino just a few minutes after the start of a race and he's in contention, he can stay with any rider close to his age for hours. He has incredible endurance. This is a seasoned cyclist, even at 8 years old, that routinely does 50, 60, 70-mile rides in some of the toughest elevation and climbs in the mountains of Virginia. So he knows he has the confidence that he can race with any junior, regardless of age, as long as it's within 4 or 5 years from him, as soon as that first lap is over with. But that has been his problem up to this point. And that's why the title of this is called I Belong. We had been telling, especially his mother had been telling him for the entire week, that you belong in this group of kids. He is fast enough, he is talented enough, he has the bike handling skills, but he was struggling with his starts. So all week long we had practiced the start and developing the ability to dig deep, like the matches that are in that box that we've talked about for weeks, where at the end of the race he hasn't even opened his box to strike a match yet. Open the box, dig in there, and start lighting some matches. Do it at the beginning of the race, because once you do that, you know you're talented enough to stick with the kids throughout the rest of the race. And this race, he was able to do that. You can see him right here. Every time he'd start to get gapped, all it would take is just a couple more seconds. He'd take a few deep breaths, burn a match, and he'd catch right back up. And then his skills, his endurance, and his speed started to put him in contention to be a real player in the race. Let's keep watching as I highlight some of the things that took place. This section right here, we spent 10 minutes the day before practicing, making sure that his line was dialed in. Videos never do these types of things justice. Videos make certain aspects of trails look far easier than they actually are, make the steepness much more level than it actually is. You get the drift. You know how videos minimize the severity of many things. But this particular section coming out of the single track was very off-camber, had very loose dirt, slick rocks, and we worked endlessly the day before in pre-riding to make sure that he knew how to do this particular line. Little did we know that later in the race, it really, really made a difference. After this section, you can see Nino make this incredible inside pass on Hutch. His skills for cornering and just total all-around cyclocross skills this year has just developed to the next level. Being able to race with Sam and some of the older kids, watching their lines, the techniques, and just the diversity of the different race courses that NCCX has thrown at Nino for this entire season. The level from last year to this year, which is obvious, you're going to get better each year, especially when you're from 7 to 8 years old, but it's far surpassed what we had any expectations for in this particular season. And throughout this race, you'll watch some of the cornering that Nino does and some of the technical handling, and it is truly hard to believe when you see his abilities that he really is 8 years old. But trust me, he is. And it doesn't take long when you see him up against the other kids to be like, okay, yeah, he's 8. But he surely does not ride like he's 8. What's really special about this Road to Cyclocross series is you get to watch it from episode 1 to now. And if you watch it each week and you see all the different things that we talk about and that Nino does, it starts to make a little bit more sense. From episode 1 to now, you've seen how Nino has gotten stronger just a month and a half. His ability to push up hills and carry his bike over barriers has gotten so much better. And this particular event here at Hickory, it had this just absolute hard run-up that was about 15 yards long and very, very steep with loose dirt. And you could see just a minute or so ago, Nino pushing as hard as he could, and he was able to make it up so much better than any of the other races. And he was digging his toes in and really pumping his legs. And then when he'd get on, he'd hop on. And the first 3 laps, he was making the same mistake as hopping off in extremely hard gear, which he wasn't really thinking ahead, realizing that when he was getting back on his bike, he was getting back on that hard gear. So I kept yelling at him to make sure he changed to an easy gear right when he was getting off. And as I said in one of the episodes before, sometimes you can say it to Nino till you're blue in the face, and it's like he never seems to understand what you're saying until it matters the most, and then he seems to do it. And here in a little while, you'll see where that one thing said to him really starts to pay dividends, because he remembered to do it when it mattered the most. But as he's coming through here, starting some of the cornering around the backside of this ball field, as I said in the highlight video, I watched the elite men, I watched all the amateur races, I watched the juniors, and I will tell you, from the first lap to the 4th lap, by the time the race was over with, I did not see any single person be able to make these corners any faster than Nino was going. And I am not just saying that because he is somebody I care about. I'm 100% saying this kid was cornering faster than anybody. I don't even know how he was able to rail it like he was. Tires sticking and you'll see it. I think lap 3 when he catches one of the older juniors. But this corner, especially behind this baseball field, was just absolutely amazing throughout this entire race. And kudos to Nino for, really starting to get the feel of his new bike and learning how to stick those corners and have a lot of trust in his abilities and in his equipment. All right, so we're going into lap 2, and Nino used every opportunity that he had to catch back up to Hutch, make the pass on Hutch again, and then close that gap and catch right back up to Sam. And this is where Nino really needed to be. As we've said many a times, that it's that first lap, that's his danger zone. If he can get through that, the endless opportunities for him. You know how cross is, mountain biking, road cycling, they're all the same. It's rare to win. When you're truly amongst solid competition, it's hard to win races consistently. It's not really intended to be that way. It's probably not even really intended to be on the podium every time. But I guess the goal for Nino, his own goal and my goal for him, is that he puts himself in the position to have a chance to win. And that's what he had done this time. And so his ability to really bite down on the mouthpiece and go as hard as he could. And the chances that were given to him to close the gaps is what was so impressive in this race. In previous races, he'd get gapped off, and I think that he just didn't have enough confidence. But last week, when we were doing our weekly Wednesday practice, he rode harder than I'd ever seen him ride before. And there's a difference between riding hard and riding hard and fast. He rode hard and fast. We got done, and I was in almost disbelief for how he was able to ride. The group of people we were riding with almost, you could see it in their faces as well, as it was a different kid that night. So Thursday morning, on the way to school, I asked Nino, "Why don't you ever race like you rode last night?" And his response to me was spine-chilling, dead serious. He stated, "I didn't know that I could." I was somewhat shocked with his response because normally Nino is a wordsmith and he has a pretty good excuse for everything. But that was the one thing that he could answer, in a way that he answered, that left me speechless because I truly believed him. And then he stated, "But now that I know that I can, they better watch out this weekend." And I realized right then something had changed. He developed a level of confidence that he needed to develop to put him to the next level. Now, obviously, you know how it goes. You can have one great race, and the next race you be last place. That's just cycling. But one thing about it is when you start to get that level of confidence, it definitely helps take you to the next level in your skills, in your abilities, and in your speed. And I can tell you, after seeing that practice Wednesday, seeing that race Sunday, and seeing practices again after the race, he officially has taken his skills to the next level. And I'm excited that it's at the most perfect time of the season. It's not about winning the NCCX races. It's about putting himself in contention with potential to win the national championship in Fayetteville, Arkansas, second week of December. That's his goal. I am just giving him the path to be able to do it. But he is figuring out at 8 years old what he needs to do to make it a reality. So you see him getting up this hill, pushing his bike, hopping back on, chasing back, getting on Sam's wheel. The most fun part about racing is being able to race with people. Nobody likes to be in no man's land. Doesn't matter. Well, I guess if you're the best in the world, maybe you did. Maybe Matthew Vanderpool likes to be off the front, 2 minutes ahead, never worried about losing a race. I don't know what that feels like. It's never been a thing that I've experienced. But at least as a kid, especially a kid that's racing his friends, sometimes I think it's probably most fun when you have somebody to race. Nino's such a kind-hearted soul. Sometimes we have to get after him because we've actually seen him in races talking to his competitors about Pokemon and catfishing and all kinds of other nonsense. And we're like, what are you doing? We paid an entry fee. Get out there and try. But Nino's all about making friends. He's the most social kid you'll ever meet in your life. And sometimes he catches himself talking to his competition about just random things in life. And that's kind of happened some in this race. He would encourage his competitors to go faster and stick with him and fight harder and come on. He doesn't want to be by himself and all the various things he says while he's racing. But sometimes you can't help but just smile and realize that's just Nino and that's his personality. But this race was actually fun to watch. I can only imagine how fun it was for him to race. Pretty much from start to finish, he was either chasing or being chased. And regardless if you win, you second, or if you last, there's got to be something fun about that. And it most certainly makes you a better rider. But his buddy Sam is riding hard, probably the hardest Sam has had to ride all year long, trying to make sure that he stays ahead of Nino. But Nino just had a different idea for the day. He didn't want to just sit on Sam's wheel. He learned after the Gibsonville race, episode 1, Road to Cyclocross Nationals, check it out, that sprint finishes might not always be the best deal for him, especially when he's racing kids 3-4 years older than him. So he wanted to make sure that he had control of the race. And as we watch, you'll start seeing Nino start to look at the options on the table, and he starts thinking, how can he change the outcome from Gibsonville and make Hickory a little bit more favorable for him? And even at 8 years old, it's hard to believe, but at 8 years old, the kid, when he's in the red zone, being able to process the different things going through his mind to make sure that he's putting himself in the best position possible to maybe win a race. I'm sure racing 60 races so far in his life has really given him a heads up on the, experience levels and makes the processing of these decisions a little bit easier. But still, at 8 years old, to be able to make these decisions when you're in the red, that maybe it's not the time to ride a wheel, or maybe it is the time to ride the wheel, or maybe it's time to pass here. It's just hard to believe that at that age, you start to make some of the right decisions. And as we continue to watch, we'll see Nino continue to make seemingly the right decisions. So we're going into lap 3. Nino decided to make the pass on Sam. He didn't want to ride behind Sam anymore. He wanted to take control of the race, something that we've been working with Nino about. His mom was a little bit nervous about taking control of the race on lap 3, but I was putting it in Nino's hands. Let him make the decision. If it works for him, great. If he doesn't, maybe he'll learn lessons that will help him in the future. I sit there at my age and I look back at 8 years old and try to remember something. And be honest with you, there's very few things that I can even remember when I'm 8. It makes me wonder, if Nino continues to be into cycling, how much of this he'll actually remember as he gets older. But maybe it becomes instinctive. That's what we hope, at least. About right through here is when Nino is caught saying, "You belong." He said it to himself. He was repeating what his mother had told him earlier in the race and days leading into this. But I thought it was pretty amazing that the little 8-year-old, trying to win the first race of the year, riding all by himself, trying to figure out what can he say to himself to motivate him. And he comes up with, "You belong." I think it's a pretty powerful statement, really. Simple, 2 words. But the meaning of it is really, really, really big. And he wants to make sure that everybody knows that he's capable. We know it. He's learning it. But now he wants the competition to remember it. Don't ever count me out, because I am capable to win a race. And I think that's what he was meaning when he said "you belong." But as we continue to watch here, Nino taking over in the front, making some good lines, putting power out where he needs to put power out, and recovering where he needs to recover. And he really was doing what I consider a textbook race. Then when you think about how old he is, absolutely amazing that he's able to do this good of a race to be his age. It gets a little confusing here because you look straight ahead and you see what you think is Sam. But it's not. It's one of Sam's older junior teammates from Velocious Sport. As I've said all year long, Velocious is locked and loaded. It's an entire arsenal of young talent that is just ready to win races. And so ahead is one of the 15 to 18-year-old juniors. And it's not Sam. Sam is actually behind Nino, right on his wheel. A couple times Nino would gap him and Sam would work extra hard to catch right back up. But Nino is now catching the 15 to 18-year-old division, and he's starting to catch on. So don't be confused when you see what you think is Sam. It's not Sam. Sam's right behind. And occasionally the camera pans around and catch Sam. But Sam and Nino are having a really tough battle. But you'll see Nino catching up to the older junior rider. And some of Nino's lines you will see, especially at the backside of this baseball field, how fast Nino was going compared to the competition. And he was just catching right back up and actually ended up accidentally, unintentionally rubbing the older junior's wheel in one of the turns because he caught up to him so fast. But then Nino starts to get in behind and You can kind of see him contemplating whether to pass the older junior or to ride his wheel, and Nino makes the smart decision to sit and ride the wheel, catch a little bit of recovery. And these are the type of decisions that he was making that I was just shocked, but it's all the miles and conversations we've had for the past 2 years. When we're in the middle of nowhere in the mountains of Virginia doing a long 4-hour ride, and we're sitting talking about all the different scenarios and tactics, when I think he's not paying attention and he's thinking about Charizard or some other new toy from a Gujitsu or Bluey or whatever the weird stuff he always talks about, and you think he's not listening, this is when you know that he actually is, and he makes the right decision at the right time. All right, while we're watching Nino catch up to the junior 15 to 18 Velocious rider, talk a little bit about where we're going to be next, and we're excited about this. It is going to be the North Carolina Grand Prix, the biggest race of the year in North Carolina, for NCCX number 10 and number 11, back-to-back Saturday and Sunday in Hendersonville, North Carolina. Part of the National Cyclocross Series, and it usually brings some of the top competition in the eastern United States. And hopefully that will be the case this year, and we will be there. Nino will be on the start line somewhere around 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday. And then after this weekend, we only got one NCCX race left before we head west of Fayetteville, Arkansas. So if you're in the area, East Coast, and you're wanting some awesome cyclocross action, whether as a rider and or a spectator, come join us at the North Carolina Grand Prix in Hendersonville. Absolutely beautiful part of America, and they need your support after Hurricane Helene last year did a tremendous devastation to the western region of North Carolina. And we're excited to take our tourism dollars down there and spend some money in the restaurants and gift shops and things, and spend some time in a part of the country that my wife and I used to spend a bunch of time kayaking and mountain biking. We're glad to head our back and enjoy some beautiful scenery in the mountains of North Carolina. Join us next weekend, North Carolina Grand Prix. Let's watch Nino, see how he does. NCCX number 10, number 11. Boom. Lap 4, the final bell lap. The official rang the bell, 1 to go. Nino's off the front. The junior rider in the 15-8 division's right in front of him, but he is not trying to stay with him. He's trying to make the right moves to make sure that he stays ahead of Sam. You know it's running through his mind about the potential for a sprint finish, and Nino was probably okay with that. But he also knew that he needed to make sure that he did everything right to give him the best possible chance to not have to be in a sprint finish. And the way for him to do that is take control of the race. So he is maintaining control just as he was instructed to do. And he's making these corners, putting down power, and hitting his lines that he'd practiced the night before and the morning of the race to make sure that when it was crunch time, he was ready to perform. And man, did he perform. Look at him coming through here, nailing these lines, looking like a little pro. And still going off there, and just was doing everything right. And, you know, win, lose, or draw, all we could say is we were so proud of him for putting himself in the most repetitive word I've done in any video, but contention. He was giving himself a chance. And that's all you can ask for, whether you're in the Tour de France or whether you're in a local Wednesday night training race. If you just give yourself a chance, sometimes magic can happen, and that's what the little man is doing. Let's continue to watch the bell lap, and I'll help us get through the end here. And to make sure you check out Little Nino's taking the camera, doing a couple interviews, had some little issues with the battery dying, different things like that, but he still caught some cool footage, and he's going to continue to do that each and every week. And so I encourage you to watch all his little shenanigans that he does at the end of his race while everybody else is racing through the day, hanging out with all of his buddies. And man, has he made some cool friends. And that's what it's all about in junior racing, is getting the exercise, racing hard, making a bunch of friends and memories, and then getting back to the books during the week. And I truly believe this is why he excels in school, is because he gets what he calls the wiggles out, and he can sit in his classroom, listen to the teacher, and learn the lessons that are being taught. And in his little daydreaming mind, and always looking forward to is going and playing with Annan and Lyndon and Sam on the weekends once the racing's over. And so it's just truly blessed by God to be able to give him the opportunity to do this. And I honestly could not be any prouder. But let's watch the Bill lap as he finishes it out. All right, you can see single track sections, pretty challenging. It's narrow, rooty, loamy, name it. There's a lot going on. And Nino, he's a mountain biker. He loves single track. But he's coming through here in the lead. And you remember at the early part of this video, I told you we spent 10 minutes on the turn leading out of this single track, making sure Nino knew his line and could hit his line. I also said, make sure you pay attention towards the end of this video, because we didn't expect it to be what mattered the most. But as we're watching Nino here coming outside of the single track back into the main course, he drills the line exactly like he needed to do. You could see Sam was working harder than he had all year. He had a great race. He's an incredible rider. And he was in the red zone. He was having to work like he'd never worked all year long to stick with Nino, because Nino was doing everything right, something that Nino hadn't done much of this year. And Sam, in this very loose rock, loose dirt, off camber, rooty, rocky, just the whole 9 yards. It's just a tough section. Sam bobbles, and when he bobbles, his wheels come out from under him and he hits the deck. And I hate it for Sam, because it would have been an amazing finish between the two of them. But Nino did everything right. He was off the front, he hit his lines, he didn't lose any speed, and he hammered down. He didn't even know Sam had an issue. But Sam went down, and Nino never looked back. And we'll see Nino here just hammer down and keeps going. And Sam knew right then that there was just no catching Nino. It was such a close race to begin with. If you make any mistake, even to the point of putting a foot down, sometimes it's just nearly impossible to be able to make that back up. And when he hit the deck, and he hit the deck pretty hard, fortunately it was okay, scratched his arm a little bit, but got back on and still captured an amazing finish, as we'll see in a second. But you can see Nino did everything right. And as I said early on in this video, he put himself in the position that he needed to put himself in to make sure he had a chance to win. Let's watch him bring it home to the finish line. While we're watching the last couple minutes of this lap, Nino is off the front. After Sam's issue, he's back a pretty good ways. You'll see a slight little glimpse of Sam here when Nino's going through the turn, and even Nino, just such a kind soul. But he's giving Sam encouraging words, saying, "Come on, Sam, I don't want it to end this way." And he was wanting Sam to get right back up there with him. And I probably would have strangled him had he slowed down for Sam to do that, because that's something that Nino would do. And if you know Nino personally, you're probably laughing at this part of the video, because you know that's exactly how Nino is. But fortunately, as much as I hate it for Sam, I am glad Nino did not do that. And Nino kept riding hard. And in fact, he was riding very hard. He was not slowing down. He was not taking it easy. He was determined to get to the end. And before we get there, please, you know this has been an awesome video. Please hit that like button and hit subscribe. Share it with your friends. And you don't know how much it's motivating Nino to come out here and continue to make these videos, and just helping him become a social kid and become one incredible cyclist. And we really do appreciate your support. So please hit subscribe, like, and share. And we appreciate you supporting Nino and Nino's adventures. And let's continue to watch Nino here, as it almost brought tears to his mother in my eyes, as the little guy who's fought all year long finally gets some of the glory. Last thing before we wrap it up, when Nino crosses the finish line after he pumps his fist in the air here in just a second, I want you to pay attention to what he says to his mom. It was awesome. experience to be able to see how proud he was of himself.
I did it! Heck yeah!
You put the work in.
Right here, the little all-star Annan Frederick pushing his way up this massive climb. What an awesome job he did capturing the 10 and under victory for the day. Good job, and look forward to seeing you in Hendersonville too.
All right. How does it feel to win?
Feels pretty good. I'm excited. I beat Gus, even though he crashed.
All right. Tell me about the Pan American Championship.
Well, the Pan American Championship is just very, very hard. It's the best of the country, and all of North America, for that matter, comes out, and the pace just never lets off. You know, at these local races, you know, you have some really strong guys, and the competition is like really tough. But when you go to Pan Am, it's just a whole other level, and there's just a big old party going on around the whole way around the course with fans hollering and screaming, and everything is loud. It is just awesome.
And can I get an interview with your trailer? I want to see. I wanted to show everyone on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, absolutely. But we might have to do that after the race.
Yeah.
Come back and get me.
I will.
All right, sounds good.
Well, you heard him. Wait a second. Has he raced in it? Oh, shoot, I forgot to ask him. Is this illegal? I don't care. Alright, I am standing. Hopefully this is not illegal. Police officers, if you see this, do not arrest me. I am a 8-year-old child. I have no clue what I'm doing.